The mud-trench Leviathan lunged at the downed shuttle. Proctor Kalen raised his plasma pistol. He braced his legs for an impact that would crush his bones. Cadet Harper ignored the beast entirely. She tossed a handful of sliced toxic roots into the boiling synthetic fat inside her wok. The hot oil hissed like an angry snake. A thick, concentrated vapor shot straight into the air. The aerosol hit the monster in the face. It charged. She stirred. The vapor hit. The apex predator screamed. It pawed frantically at its burning sensory pits. It turned and fled back into the acid fog. I wish I could tell you the survival trial went as planned. It didn't. Stay close. 20 minutes earlier, Kalen stood at the helm of the extraction shuttle. He piloted the craft above the canopy and managed a total disaster. The Grid 9 bog was designed to break the best infantry in the galaxy. It did exactly that. The mud ate through standard plating. The air carried spores that locked muscles in seconds. Below the shuttle, 40 heavily armored Gornal recruits were falling. Their distress beacons blinked across Kalen's console in a steady red rhythm. He pushed the throttle forward. He dropped a rescue line to a Gornal soldier stuck in the muck. The winch pulled the heavy recruit up into the bay. The mud had already dissolved the outer layer of his leg armor. Kalen logged the failure. The trial was working. Then he saw the human. Cadet Harper walked completely off the designated safe path. She wore a faded denim jacket over her standard plates. She carried a heavy, unapproved forged carbon wok. A primitive basin she claimed was strictly for meal prep. Kalen had marked it as useless weight. Now he tracked her thermal signature into the deepest, most lethal section of the swamp. She stepped over a rotting log. A toxic snare vine whipped out from the brush. It aimed for her ankle. Harper did not panic. She drew her field knife. She chopped the vine cleanly in half. She picked up the severed piece and shoved it into her pack. She adjusted her collar and complained aloud about the humidity ruining her hair. A toxic spore cloud drifted past her face. A Gornal warrior would have seized up immediately. Harper just sneezed, rubbed her nose, and kept walking. Kalen hit the external comms button. "Cadet Harper, you have left the safe path. Return immediately." Her voice crackled back over the radio. "Sorry, Proctor. I checked the ration packs. The paste tastes like wet cardboard. I need real food." Kalen gripped the console. He steered the shuttle lower. Harper stepped deeper into the bog. The mud sucked at her boots. She stopped beside a patch of cobalt death roots. The purple stems pulsed in the dim light. Kalen checked his datapad to confirm the biosignature. The root caused instant cellular death in every known sentient species. It melted respiratory tracts on contact. Harper reached out barehanded. She snapped the thick stems. Kalen felt his thermal neck scales flare open. A hiss of pressurized steam escaped his vents. He acted on the only logical conclusion his training provided. The acid fog had eaten through her rudimentary filters. She was in the final stages of neurotoxic shock. She had lost her mind to the pain. Kalen slammed his hand onto the descent thrusters. The shuttle dropped out of the sky. It hit the mud with a heavy crack, crushing a dozen dead trees. Kalen grabbed an emergency chemical purge kit from the wall. He slammed the ramp release. He rushed out into the thick, acrid, burning copper smell of the fog. "Step away from the flora," Kalen yelled. He marched through the sludge. He aimed the medical scanner at her chest. Harper did not step away. She set down her pack. She pulled out the severed snare vine and arranged it as kindling. She placed the heavy carbon wok over a portable thermal flare. The blue flame licked the black metal. She pulled her small knife from her belt. She began to slice the lethal root into neat, even pieces. "You are holding a Class A biohazard," Kalen said. His voice was tight. He stepped forward with the purge injector raised. "Your skin should be melting." "These," Harper tapped the red root with her blade. "They have a thick skin. You just have to peel them first." She pulled a plastic bottle from her pack. She poured synthetic cooking fat into the wok. The heat spiked on Kalen's scanner. The oil began to bubble. Then the ground shook. A low, wet growl vibrated through the mud. It rattled Kalen's teeth. He looked past the human cadet. The heavy descent thrusters of the shuttle had drawn unwanted attention. The trees parted. A mud-trench leviathan broke the tree line. It was 3 tons of muscle and neuroacid spit. It locked its 4 eyes on the shuttle. The beast lunged. Kalen dropped the medical kit. He drew his plasma weapon. He planted his feet in the mud. He fired a warning shot into the trees. The plasma burst did nothing. The monster kept coming. Kalen prepared for a hopeless fight. Harper did not draw a weapon. She did not even look at the leviathan. She tossed the sliced roots directly into the boiling fat. The heavy sizzle overpowered the sound of the bog. The heat rapidly broke down the deadly cytotoxin. It created a localized, weaponized cloud of pepper spray. The thick smoke billowed outward. The leviathan hit the cloud at full speed. The sharp, peppery sting burned the air. The beast stopped dead. It wheezed loudly. It thrashed blindly, tearing up the ground with its claws. Then it turned and crashed back into the jungle to escape the fumes. Kalen stood paralyzed in the mud. He lowered his gun. He coughed loudly as his respiratory filters struggled against the cooking fumes. The monster was gone. Harper tapped her wooden spoon against the edge of the wok. She inspected the seared, bubbling roots. She blew gently on the rising steam. "Cadet," Kalen choked out, "do not ingest that." Before Kalen could step forward, she lifted a hot piece of the deadliest plant in the sector. She placed it right into her mouth. She chewed. She swallowed. She smiled. "The cytotoxin really opens up the sinuses," Harper said. She held out the spoon. "Want a bite?" Kalen looked at his datapad. The screen flashed a bright red warning. It declared her dead. Human gastric acid maintained a pH level capable of dissolving raw zinc. The heat had neutralized the lethal venom into a pleasant spice. He turned the datapad off. No armor, no weapons, no fear. The trial ended an hour later. The extraction ships pulled the failing recruits from the mud. Harper walked onto the deck under her own power. She carried her wok and a small container of leftovers. Kalen demanded the container. He handed it straight to the head of toxicology. The toxicologist tested a single drop of the oil on a titanium plate. The metal hissed and blackened instantly. The medical bay ran Harper's bloodwork 5 times. The doctors expected massive organ failure. They found nothing but slightly elevated endorphins. Her internal organs were perfectly intact. Kalen sat alone in his office. The screens flickered with the day's data. His worldview, built entirely on rigid academy metrics, was completely broken. He opened his terminal. He submitted a classified update to the central databanks. He officially upgraded the human metabolic system from standard mammalian to a strategic threat. Later, he walked down to the secure archives. He keyed the lock. He stepped inside the quiet room. He looked through the reinforced glass. The heavy carbon wok sat on a sterile display pedestal. It was marked under Hazard Evidence Box 4. The crucible that digests our death world. Kalen's thermal scales twitched as he stared at the black iron. Class A venom to us was simply a condiment to her. Some predators hunt with fangs. This one hunted with a spatula. We assumed they were fragile. We forgot they evolved by eating their world.